I'm John Bohlinger with Premier Guitar. So a few months back, PG did a little bit with EMG, and we're trying to do a comparison. So I've got my old Strat, which I bought brand new in '94, and I've put all these different pickups in it, tried everything, and I popped in the Lukather set, and man, I really love it. So based on my confidence with that, we figured, well, let's try it on a Les Paul. So this is a LP I bought, gosh, like 20 years ago. I was doing this show, Nashville Star, and I treated myself to a nice Les Paul. Since then, I've changed pickups, I don't know how many times, kind of chasing the tone. Also, I changed the wire and harness. I've done a lot of stuff to this. So I'm going with the EMG Fat 55 Retro Active. Essentially, I think this is going to capture what I'm always kind of going for, which is that kind of lower output PAF sound. I like them. I don't know. I like them because I like them. Who knows why? But to me, if you're switching between a Strat and a Tele and this, the volume difference is not that great, and they kind of lean towards that classic old school tone that for whatever reason I'm attracted to. So I can't wait to hear it. On the Strat, it was an easy operation. This one's a little more intense, so our friend Tech, Dave Johnson, is going to make the swap for us, and then we'll come back with the new version of this.
Hey, this is Dave Johnson with Scale Model Guitars. Today we have John's Les Paul on the bench, and we are going to install the EMG Retro Active pickup set into it. So the first step is to disassemble the guitar, remove the strings, remove the pickups, and remove the wiring harness. Now we're removing the three-way switch, and the jumper wire will be right here. Unrelated to our project, but here's a cool look at how the B-bender in John's guitar works. Carefully remove the screws so we can take out John's PAF style humbuckers. Screwing the EMG Retroactive Fat 55s into the pickup mounting rings. EMG made this mod really easy with snap-in connections and new hardware, removing any need to solder. Okay, so a couple of things with the three-way switch and this harness. The first thing I'd like to point out is there is a lever mechanism in this guitar. So we want to make sure that the back of that three-way switch clears the lever. So see that? If that were to be in the way of this within the travel of that lever, we'd have a problem. So best practice would be to plug the wires into the wire terminal on the switch and then run the cables through the wire passage all the way to the electronics cavity first. The reason for that is because we are going to put the pickups in next, And if the pickups are in your way, you won't be able to access or to feed the wires through the cavity. Okay, now we're going to install the pickups. So here I have the neck pickup. 350A is our neck. And I've got the plug connection that's going to go onto the pins. And make sure that on the pickup side of the connection, on the harness, you're using the solid connector and not the one that separates the red, which is the power, from the terminals of the pickup. And what I like to do is throw a piece of tape, binding tape, over the terminal connection. And this prevents that from sliding or rattling off of the pins, becoming dislodged. Okay, then it can go into the guitar. And always remember to pull the wire taut so it doesn't rattle around in the wire passage. Okay, here's a little tech tip, piece of advice for you. Use it if you wish. But if you have a screw, in every one of these screw holes there is a thread pattern. We kind of get into the habit of doing this, but forget to mention it. If you take the screw and turn it backwards, you hear that? That's the thread of the screw finding the thread pattern of the hole. And then you know it's safe to put the screw back in there. And you never risk cross-threading the thread pattern. Marking the pickup leads here will avoid headaches later on. Alright, so the next move that we need to make is to swap the output jack. I wanted to show you something. On EMGs, these are active pickup systems. And on an active system, we would use a TRS jack. So tip, ring, sleeve. The way it works on active systems is that the output jack is actually the switch for the battery. That's why when you leave your instrument cable plugged in to the TRS jack, it is draining the battery. If you accidentally leave it plugged in overnight, every minute that it is plugged in, it's draining your battery. That's why you need to unplug your guitar when you're done using it. The way it works is we've got tip, ring, and sleeve, but we're using a mono jack. So when I plug that in, there's my ring connection. So on a mono jack, the ring connection is hitting right there, and the sleeve is hitting here. So the jack itself completes the circuit. So when it's plugged in, it's turned the battery on. Another thing I wanted to mention on this guitar, and specifically for John, is we took a passive system out of this guitar. We removed the harness and all that, but I'm still left with the string ground. On active systems, and the EMG system specifically, we don't use the string ground. But what I don't want to do is chop that, because in the event that down the road he wants to go back to having a passive system installed in this guitar, if I chop his string ground, he's not going to have that. So I want to have this available just in case the mind changes. So what I would do as a temporary place marker is just to throw a piece of heat shrink over that, and then I can tuck it off to the side. Also, so the string ground doesn't touch something that it shouldn't be touching, which would be a risk of a short. feeding the wire into the cavity and putting the output jack back on the guitar. Now we're installing the included 25K volume and tone pots. Snapping in the electronics between the volume and tone pots to the pickups and three-way selector. So the last step of the process is to install the 9-volt battery onto the harness. But the issue you're going to run into is we can't have the battery bouncing around the electronics cavity. So there's a number of ways that you could do this. One way would be to find the part where the battery is going to fit the cavity, and I could throw some tape on there. You can do this if you're in a pinch. It would work. Also, you could wrap the battery in foam and just cut the foam, tape around it, and that would sit down in there just so it doesn't hit anything, it doesn't bounce around. But the way that I'm going to do this is to use a battery pouch. These are really easy to install. But I'm just going to find the part where it's going to be this section right here. I'm going to put some Velcro onto that, put the battery on the clip, and then that goes into this pouch, like so, and then that goes onto the Velcro, and there you go. After successfully testing the pickups and moving the poker chip, we're now closing up the wiring cavity and B-bender pocket. Okay, so we have the pickups, the wiring harness installed in John's Les Paul, and we have it up to pitch. It's been tested, everything's working. The last thing to do would be to do the pickup heights. Pickup heights are very subjective. John likes to live around 3mm, 4/32, somewhere in there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put them there for him, and then he can adjust from there if he wants to. With EMG's active pickups, you can get them up close to the strings if you want to, but that's kind of more of a player preference situation. So the way that we would adjust the pickup heights on John's Les Paul, we're going to suppress the string at the final fret, and I'm going to read from the top of the pole to the bottom of the string. And for John, I'm going to shoot for 4/32 and 3/32. Okay, so we made one adjustment to the pickup heights. I ended up landing at 3/32 bass side, 2/32 treble. We just thought it sounded better there. But John can lift those closer to the strings if he wants to. So it's all wrapped up, buttoned up, and ready to get back to John.
So here's how we're recording this. I'm just running the guitar directly into my Bad Cat Black Cat. So just a cable amp guitar. That way there's no tricks, nowhere for the tone to hide. Now we're gonna do a little taste test through the magic of editing. I'll play something now on this, and then when it comes back from the shop, we'll A-B it. Let's try the neck. Okay, here's the bridge. And here's the middle. I'll put a little dirt on it. Okay, I got my beloved old Les Paul back from Dave Johnson. He's just installed the EMG Retro Active Fat 55s. Let's hear what it sounds like. I'm gonna go through all the pickup settings, clean, then dirty. And I'm plugged into the same, my old Bad Cat amp, so you can, in same settings as before. So here we go. Whoa. Okay, so that is the first listening, and as you all know, it's hard to tell when you first strap on a guitar. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take some gigs, I'm gonna take some sessions, and we will circle back. Okay, so I've had about a week to bond with this thing. I've had it on a couple gigs, and I've had it on a session, and I am really impressed, particularly in the studio. I had this and my old 69 Telly, and then my Strat as well. And to hear in the studio when you're chasing down buzzes and hums, it's just it's sort of humiliating to have your rig have all that sound in it, all that noise in it. And this thing was just so clear and present, and you know, I really loved it. I thought it was very impressive, and I'm grateful to EMG for letting me try this wacky little experiment on the active pickups. Why don't I go ahead and play a little bit more with some pedals, and same amp, everything else is the same, and you can just kind of hear it on the way out. But all in all, I am really impressed. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. It's John Bohlinger. Till next time.